How's everybody doing? Doing good. My name is Trevor Davis. I'm extremely blessed to be here, excited to be here, to talk to you all, and be here on behalf of the pro athlete community. For me and my own personal story, it's funny, I was thinking about it backstage. When I went to my first PreK event, and I'll get into what PreK is and all the events, but I remember I wrote down in 2022, when I went to that my goal was to one day come back to a PreK event or something similar and be a panelist or be a speaker and accelerate my life in that way. So being here is really a full circle moment for me, and it's really amazing. A backstory behind PreK. PreK is a ecosystem of education, mentorship, and resources for athletes to have the tools to go outside of sports and have everything they need to excel outside of sports in their careers or whatever it may be. And it's been instrumental for me, and it's changed my life. So I want to go into these guys. Before we talk about your story as well, let's just talk ball, and I'll start off first. For me, I went to UC Berkeley. If we got any Bears out there, go Bears. One Bear, hey, how about that? But I went to UC Berkeley. I played for the Green Bay Packers, as well as the Oakland Raiders, the Dolphins, and the Washington football team at the time, the Washington Commanders now. Kick it off to you.
Yeah, so I went to University of Arkansas, Woo Pig, Crickets. Okay. All right, it's all good. We on the West Coast, but you know, SEC. So got drafted to New England, 4 years there. Still Crickets.
Yeah.
Super Bowls, 2 times Super Bowl. Okay, there go the class. All right. Then went to Detroit for 3 years. Miami. Okay.
There it is.
I ain't making.
We're getting some energy.
Yeah.
There we go. We do well with energy.
Yeah. So 9 years in the NFL. So.
Go. Yeah, give him a round of applause. There it is. Alec Ingold. I went to the University of Wisconsin, up north, Big Ten ball. I went undrafted into the NFL, played with the Raiders for 3 years. Now I'm with the Dolphins this is going to be my 4th year with the Dolphins. Made a Pro Bowl in 2024. I'm just continuing that work.
Yeah.
I'm Jaelan Phillips. I went to UCLA for 2 years, and then I transferred to the University of Miami, and then I got drafted by the Dolphins. So I'm currently going into my 5th year with the Dolphins. My teammate Alec right here. So yeah, happy to be here.
For sure. Let's talk about what you guys are getting into off the field. So I know you have a foundation that's really special to you, as well as being a father and everything else. What about that foundation is really impactful for you?
Yeah, so my foundation is called Flowers of the Future Foundation. So we deal with the inner city youth, just giving them different opportunities, inspiration, and impacting lives. So our motto is to plant the seed for a better tomorrow, right? So when it comes to the kids, and I think that's very impactful for me because I have 4 children. I just had my first boy, so clap for me because I had 3 girls. So y'all had to praying for that boy, so I got my boy. But so I have 4 children, and just kids are for me is very special to kind of give them opportunities because they don't pick how they grow up. They don't pick the environment. So anytime I could when I could help and be an impact, that was beneficial for me.
Yeah, huge. And you as well, you have a foundation, the Ingold Family Foundation.
Yes,
so
sir.
Same thing for you.
Yeah, Ingold Family Foundation. We educate and empower the next generation through life lessons learned in sports. And the focus is with adoptive and foster care communities. I'm adopted myself, so being able to go into group homes, foster care places, kids that are looking to be adopted, families that are interested in being adopted, we do a lot of financial literacy work with that youth and those kids as they're aging out of the foster care system. Over 70% of youth in foster care that age out end up either homeless or broke within 3 years. So that's a big initiative that we like to do to educate, teach a kid how to fish, and just really try and empower that next generation of leaders and embrace their uniqueness and their stories. And being able to share my family's story as a part of that is hopefully a good blueprint for them to follow.
Yeah. And then Jaelan, I know that you also are the first inaugural PreK fellow as a current player, as well as the things that you're intrigued on outside. And I know we talked about earlier today about music, but is there anything else as well?
Yeah, so outside of football, music has been a huge part of my life for my whole entire life. And so when I started my foundation, I knew that I wanted to be surrounded around kids and also around music. So the Jaelan Phillips Foundation, we provide kids with studio time, music lessons, music business education. We have multiple different programs across the country running right now with the Frost School of Music in Miami, also with UCLA, and we have a program in Santa Monica as well. So that's really my biggest focus outside of football. And then like you mentioned, being the inaugural PreK fellow, our CEO, Chip Pochek, he gave me the opportunity. I'm currently rehabbing an ACL tear, so obviously in the offseason having a lot of free time, Chip gave me the opportunity to represent PreK. And so with that, I've just been able to learn more about the business itself and really just go to the different combines and sit in on different meetings. So it's been incredible representing PreK in that way, and definitely honored to be the inaugural fellow.
Yeah. We all have unique stories and our own passions, but what specifically for PreK and its vision spoke to you personally with what you're into outside of football?
Yeah, for me, I kind of was a shelter of a person, like I had a shell. I didn't really talk and open up much. So when I went to the combine in September, it was big for me to kind of step outside of my comfort zone. And to go out and network and talk. And I do believe that, as a player, we get caught up in our own lane. And, I missed out on some opportunities to, be able to fellowship and communicate and tap into some leaders in the locker room. So, PreK being that curated locker room amongst people that, are like-minded and such that, I'm able to fellowship and also gain some knowledge as well. So it was very beneficial for me.
Yeah. The locker room for our future is like what they say, which fits really well with me, is we're so used to a locker room setting and having people that cheer us on, and I feel as though what PreK creates is we're also competitive, like very competitive. So at the end of the day, having a locker room of people who are driven to excel their lives outside of football, we kind of hear, oh, this is what you got going. Like me, I don't have a foundation, but now hearing these guys speak about their stories and giving back, it makes me want to do the same. And I feel like we just keep leveling each other up as well, and that community aspect is huge also. Alec?
Yeah, I think it's been fun. I think the first thing with PreK is it exposes you to the skills you develop and how you're trained to operate as an athlete, how to take those life lessons and really, translate that to what your passion is. So, Caleb Thornhill's always talking about exposure breeds expansion, and for PreK to bring in a number of different avenues that you might be interested in, just that exposure itself allows for you to kind of take the lessons that you've learned, be like, okay, I can find passion in this, I can apply to this, I can continue my education, be a lifelong learner through a certain lane. So I think that's what PreK really drew me in, and also the collaborative effect. Like, yes, we compete, but there is that collaboration too, a part of that community. So I think it's been special. It's a great group of guys that are, have an elite level of standard, but walking into places in a brand new setting, it's very uncomfortable. Like having a network down the street and trying to introduce yourself and nobody knows you from Adam, and it's like, this is different. It's uncomfortable, but that's where we grow. And those are the environments that PreK really manufactures for us to learn those lessons and internalize it.
Yeah, for sure. Even for me, it's like Chip knows that I am not the biggest person for public speaking, but he knows that I've been wanting to elevate myself in that area. So the first thing he does is, hey, Trev, I think you should moderate this panel. I was like, man, I'll do it, immediately, because we all want to grow. And we need those people in that community and the people around us to push us to do things that we might not have done or that we might not say yes to initially because it's out of our comfort zone. And we're so used to being locked into football as our only thing, and we feel as though if we put our mind or our eyes on anything else, it's seen as a negative. And that's kind of a stigma inside the locker room that we have. It's almost a negative to go to or it is a negative to go to the, training room. You know what I mean? It's like, it's meant to help us, but in reality, it's seen as a negative because we're telling someone we're hurt, and we're trying not to say that. So breaking those is another thing that PAC has been doing. I'll let you touch on that as well.
Yeah, so PAC always resonated with me because I've always understood the importance of finding your purpose outside of football. I think obviously we all kind of know the stigma, and unfortunately it's a true stigma that a lot of NFL players, when they're transitioning from the league into real life, they often struggle with their identity, and they have a lot of issues, whether it's financially or just like personal identity. My story's a little interesting in the sense that back in college, I had a plethora of different injuries, and I actually ended up retiring for about a year. And so that kind of gave me the opportunity to find out who I was outside of football, and that's what really got me into music and drove my passion in that sense. So when I came into the league, I already knew that I was essentially on borrowed time. You don't really know how long you're going to be in the league, and so it's important to be able to capitalize on that time and with that platform that you have being in the league. And so, fortunately, PAC gives us the opportunity to do what Alec said, like whether it's networking with people, learning about different avenues, learning about business, learning about real estate, and just putting yourself out of your comfort zone to be able to grow in that sense. So I think that PAC has been invaluable for me personally, and I definitely know a lot of my colleagues share that same sentiment.
Yeah, you talk about statistics. I read a staggering 78% of athletes, NFL athletes, we have financial hardship 2 years after the NFL. As well as, and the tough part about that for me and why PAC was huge in my own transition is I was a part of that statistic. Before I even started working with PAC, I went through that transition as well. And it was tough for me because at the end of the day, I always knew of it. I tried to prepare for it, but I didn't have the tools. And I felt as though I was in the right place, but I was not. And it really hurt me in trying to get back to that. And then also a staggering 96% that deal with mental health issues post-career up to 2 years. And it's a huge number. And I feel like the PAC is bridging that gap to drive that number as low as possible and hopefully one day non-existent when it comes to the thoughts and the statistics behind athletes and our pursuit of our careers post-sports. But I want to tap back in to you. Being a Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee, that's huge, and giving back clearly has been a huge thing for you in your life outside of football. And you're also a Super Bowl champion. So it's like you were doing two-time. How is that, how is that drive that you had of being a champion and bringing that championship success like off the field? What drove you to do that, and how does it drive you for building these things that you're building outside of football?
Yeah, well, of course, when it comes with this game, being the Super Bowl champion is the height, like the pinnacle of it. And, when it comes to outside of the game, you gotta become, I guess, young-minded, and you gotta kind of be a little bit humble to know that, okay, I might not know as much in business world as I did when it came to the sport. And that's humbling for all athletes, even if you don't go to the Super Bowl or whatever, like you put a lot into here, you got to a area of your life where, you looked at as you know it all, you got it all, but of course, in a different lane, you should be humble enough to learn and to be open to learn. So for me, I think just knowing that, all right, this type of language in business and finance and all these different avenues outside of the sport, I have to have someone around me that knows a little bit about it and knows more than me, and that's okay, right? Because we, of course, like you say, win Super Bowls, you get the sacks, you get this, so everybody look at you for answers, but you got to have people around you that you can feed off of, that they know a little bit about it more than you, and then you will gain that knowledge along the way. So
that's the next thing I was going to touch on is like being and having so much success in the NFL. Like, how do you feel it transitions, so to speak? Like, do you find it that it helps being such a champion on the field or in that lane, that it helps you when you pursue things outside, or is it more so a hardship in the fact that you're so used to being on top of your game, and then you go into a different field and it's like I'm at the ground level. I have to build it up. How is that?
Yeah. Now you can use it to your benefit, right? You can say, okay, man, I've achieved this. I became the 1% of society, right? And I've achieved the pinnacle of, my career through hard work, through dedication, through all the tools that it takes to get there. But so you can use that as an advantage when it comes to outside in the sport. Like, okay, this is hard for me. At one point, football was hard. At one point, getting into the A-gap was hard. Beating this offensive lineman was hard, right? It was difficult for me. And so now when I come into something that's a little bit less comfortable for me, I know I may face some challenges. And through those challenges, that process, that same mindset you had when it came to football. Now, we love the game of football, and, that a little bit of that drove us to continue to get better. But, you can use that in the same sense when it comes to business and things outside of the game that, can be very beneficial for you. So,
yeah. Alec, touching on the Walter Payton Man of the Year, you were a 3-time, nominee, which is, if anyone understands, if you could touch on what the Walter Payton Man of the Year nomination is, it's really huge in giving back. So go ahead and touch on that. I have another question after that.
Yeah, I mean, all three of us have been nominated.
Yep.
I've been blessed enough to be nominated 3 times. Every single team has one man on and off the field that strives to carry on Walter Payton's legacy, which is excellence on and off the field. So to be honored that way 3 times has been a blessing. But I think it goes back to, it's one of those funny things with honors or awards or recognition is it's not why you do the work. It's just kind of a byproduct of your purpose and your why. So, anytime that I'm wearing number 30 and I got that Dolphins lid on, ready to run out on Sundays, I'm running out with the thousands of, adopted and foster care kids that you've touched in the last year and impacted in ways of financial literacy or any single thing. Playing Madden with a kid, those little moments are the big moments. And we talked about stigmas of, doing a little too much off the field or on the field. And for me, I've found that, man, doing something that's purpose-driven, it's passion-driven, that allows me to be me. Yeah. I'm testing my mind off the field in a number of different ways, but at the same token, that helps me be a better teammate to JP on the field on Sundays. I'm allowed to be fully present and in that moment because of the work that you do on the field. You're representing something so much bigger than just yourself. And there's a number of guys that are able to do that, to find those passions and pursuits, and obviously that's something that's been cool to see the honorees of all Walter Payton. I think anybody in this audience right now that has that home-based team, like go look up your Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee of this last year. Hear their stories, see what they're involved in. I'm guessing a lot of it's going to be education, trying to impact that next generation of leaders. A lot of guys are doing a lot of great things across the league off the field.
Man, I also played with you, right? And you've been, a leader since the day I've met you, you know what I mean? And always the first one to step up and say something and encourage. And what created that drive beforehand within your story? Because I've always wondered personally, because I'm just sitting here like, man, like, you make me want to go run through a wall, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, how did that come about?
I think it started by leading yourself and challenging yourself and getting into spaces with a bunch of other like-minded individuals. I never want to waste a moment. So if I see something, I'm going to say something. And I think that leadership style is really coming from the heart. I'm sure all these guys can attest, like, I'm probably not the most well-spoken, like, I get after it in practice or whatever it is, but it's all about how you feel and being vulnerable with the people you're around and, like, honestly, authentically building relationships at that first stage to allow for that opportunity to be called a leader, to be called a captain. Like, that's an honor that takes a lot of responsibility, a lot of accountability, but man, what a blessing to be able to be around, top performers and doing something that you love to do. So yeah, leadership is a burden at sometimes, but man, you lead with that heart, you lead with authenticity, you build real relationships. You're not passing people in the hallway just being like, oh, what's up, man, how you doing? Like, I'm asking about the kids and the family and like what last week was like. You know, those are the types of conversations that mean something, and at the end of the day, mean something on the field too.
I just want to say that, man, you're an amazing teammate. Like, amazing man, but amazing teammate, bro. Like, I was there for, I don't know, 10 weeks, you know, and you've stood out in my mind ever since. So I just want to make sure I say that and give you flowers,
Appreciate that, bro. Thank you.
Jaelan, bro, for sure. That's my guy. But Jaelan, you're my guy too. And we spoke earlier today, and I didn't even know about the uniqueness of your story, man. And I feel like it's really unique when it comes to PreK as well, and transition. I feel like you've had a different mindset towards transition because of your unique story. So I just wanted you to touch on that story and talk about how you've had hardships early on and how that you basically already had transition before and then came back, and I'll let you tell it.
Yeah, so I kind of briefly touched on it before, but you know, after 2 years of injury-riddled years at UCLA, I ended up getting hit by a car, had 3 bones removed out of my wrist, multiple concussions. So, you know, I was the #1 player in the country coming out of high school. So I always figured that my purpose and what I was going to do in my future was be in the NFL, and that's what I was going to do. So when I kept having this adversity, I really started to question, you know, what my purpose was and who I was outside of football. I was, you know, being in a performance-based career, like, I think that, you know, a lot of times our self-worth is attached to how well we perform on the field and just in general, our availability. And so when I wasn't able to perform on the field, you know, I kind of felt like a shell of myself. And so after leaving football and retiring, I made the decision, I'm done playing football, I'm going to transition to something else. But my parents always instilled in me that, you know, no matter what you do it with, you know, great attitude and great effort. And so for me, I wasn't just going to sit around and not do anything. I was going to apply myself and find out who I was and what my purpose was outside of football. And that just happened to be music. So I ended up going to music school for a semester in LA, and then had the great opportunity to transfer to the University of Miami to both play football and be in the music school, the Frost School of Music there. Unfortunately, scheduling-wise, wasn't able to keep being in the music school, but I've still carried that to this day, and just having that experience of leaving the game of football and having to look myself in the mirror and understand that I'm a person outside of the sport. Like, football doesn't define me. It's what I do, but it's not who I am. And taking that into the NFL, you know, my first 2 years in the league, I had really good success, didn't have any injuries, played every single game. Coming into my 3rd year, very highly touted, a lot of expectations for myself and from other people. In week 12, I ended up tearing my Achilles very suddenly. So at that point, you know, I had already dealt with some adversity in college. So to myself, it was easy to tell myself, you're going to get through this, you're going to be stronger, you know, this is part of your journey. So I go through a full off season of rehabbing relentlessly every single day, and then come in time for the start of the next season. So last year, 4 games into the season, I'm going to make a tackle, and one of my own teammates spears me in the knee, and I tear my ACL. So now I'm starting to question, like, man, what is my purpose? What's the meaning of all this? And I think that's just so applicable to everybody and really anything you're doing in life, like not just in the game. I feel like the game of football is really a microcosm of life in general. It teaches you so many like invaluable lessons. And so for me, you know, now my purpose is being able to serve as inspiration, especially to the youth, that every time you get knocked down, just get back up. And as long as you don't give up, you know, you're going to be successful in life at something. It might not be what you envisioned originally. It might not be, you know, exactly what you thought it was going to be, but you're going to be able to find your purpose by not giving up and giving your full effort to what you're doing. So
Yeah, yeah. Man, and also just balancing it all, right? And you're also someone who, you came in the league immediately, and you've been a PreK member since your rookie year, I believe. And what exactly was the drive behind that? You know, is it because of the transition that you've already kind of had, and you had that lens already? Because most guys that are young in the league, the main thing they're focused on is getting established in the league, not establishing themselves off the field. And that was perfect for PreK in an intersection with you. So how about that?
yeah, so I was fortunate enough. So before PreK became a league-wide thing, and it's really multiple leagues now, it's not even just the NFL, it was the Dolphins business combine. And so Caleb Thornhill was our player development head back then, and I had a very good relationship with him. And so when he told me about the business combine, which is essentially what we do now, it's, you know, basically 3-4 days going in, having different panelists, different keynote speakers, deep dives into different areas of real estate, business, things like that. So when he told me about it, it was really a no-brainer because, like you mentioned, I already had that mindset knowing that, you know, I don't know how long I'm going to be in the league, but I'm going to take advantage of all of these resources that I have while I'm in the league. And so I think PreK, and we know it was the Dolphins Business Combine at the time, really all it required from me was my time and attention. And so being able to go there and just soak in all the knowledge, meet the people that I met, like I said, it was a no-brainer for me. And so I've continued to come to the combines each and every year, and now obviously seeing it go from, you know, my first combine I went to, I think it was 20, 25 of us, only Dolphins players, and I just went to the Scottsdale Business Combine about a month ago, and it was 200 athletes, not only NFL players, but we had MLB representative, we had a curler from the
Yep.
Canadian curling team, so it's really beautiful seeing what PreK has turned into. And it's, like I said, it's been invaluable to me, just such an amazing resource. And I think that, you know, obviously everybody involved is really being enriched by it.
Yeah, it's a sports-wide thing, and that's what we're learning. You know, and having it with the NBA now, MLB, and getting into women's sports. We want to get into women's sports, and we will get into women's sports. It's amazing, and I feel like it's needed at the end of the day. But going to you, Alec, man, being a current player as well, like Jaelan, how do you, you know, because I know it's tough, and we have grueling schedules. We were talking about it recently. It's like our schedules are crazy. How do you simultaneously, you know, juggle what you're doing off the field and what you're doing on the field? Because you're having success in both areas. And also, where did PreK intersect in that to help out?
Yeah, I think a lot of times we think of time and attention as like one or the other. Like you can't be in both spaces. I think PreK opened my mind up to embrace who I am, embrace what makes me tick. There's a lot of best practices out there, but until we fully embrace what works for you, I feel like we're not hitting our full potential. And to be able to invest and continue to learn off of the field, my mind is constantly being activated. My mind's always thinking of the next thing. That helps with everything I'm doing on the field. And if it were ever taking it away, like, that's when I would take a step back. So I don't think there's no work-life balance. Like, it's work-life peace, and I'm at peace with what I got. You know, that was one of the quotes that we heard at a PreK Combine. I wrote that thing down. I'm stealing it. I'm talking on this stage about it. Those are the gems that PreK is able to offer, those life epiphanies that it's like, man, I really resonate with that. I'm going to take that with me to the field, right? So being able to be exposed in a number of different areas, a number of different lanes, hearing a number of different stories, we can all learn from each other. It's what JP just said, like your time and your attention. Being more intentional, being more deliberate, how is that going to help on the field? Man, it's going to help tremendously. So I think having that piece about how we move and how we shake with a strong priority, that's what PreK was able to give me and a number of our guys.
Definitely. And then Trey, man, being somebody who's successfully transitioned out of the game and being successful in your foundation, real estate, investing, father, what piece of advice that, you know, maybe you've learned from PreK or just in general through your transition would you be able to give to other athletes that may be going through a transition or getting ready to prepare for that?
Yeah, for me, I think, you know, I had to forget how I did my previous career. So in this transition, I think what worked for me was hard work and put your head down, grind it out. But when it comes to outside of the game, it's important to be open. It's important to, like I said, you know, be vulnerable, be childlike, and be like a sponge and gain some knowledge through the experience. So, you know, I had to kind of, you say successful transition, and I don't know if it's successful all the way right now. I'm 2 years removed, and it's still trying to figure it out, right? Because at a point, I'm 31, and if I out there in the crowd, I'm supposed to have it figured out, right? Yeah. But you've gave this game 20-some years of your life, and you still not really figured out, like, what am I going to do, right? Of course, I got businesses, I got investments, all of that, but what's fulfilling to me? And that is something that's a part of the transition that I think, you know, a lot of people don't really notice. It's the money thing, but it's also something fulfilling. And what I had to do is realize, okay, let me not be selfish and let me do my divine calling. What's my divine calling? And that's speaking, that's spreading the word, that's preaching the gospel, and the way that I'm able to transform lives and things like that. So I had to kind of selfishly take a step back, say, okay, yes, this work made me whatever amount of money, got me this many Super Bowls, but at some point I have to do this for my seeds, my kingdom behind me, the people that I'm raising and having being an impact for. So
Yeah. You speak of being childlike, and that runs into my next question. We got 3 minutes left, so we got to blaze through it. But because I know this is kind of it could be a thick answer, but I want you to imagine, you know, you have the opportunity to sit aside your 12-year-old self. What advice, with everything that you know now, would you give to that person who's full of passion, drive, love for the game of football? What would you give to them with everything you know now, but also for everything you know about transitioning and everything they have outside of the game of football?
yeah, I would definitely tell them, don't be afraid to make a mistake. I think, you know, a lot of kids and, you know, probably all of us, we were perfectionists at some point, and it benefited us, right? It got us to a level where, you know, we you know, at the 1%, but I think we don't supposed to get it right all the time. And what I would tell I have a 12-year-old actually, but I tell my 12-year-old is just go out there and try your best. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. She's like me, which I don't like it, but I kind of like it. It's like, okay, you're gonna get far, but I need you to not be so hard on yourself. And then also, just like what Jaelan said, like learn different hobbies. Like Jaelan understood about music and things that, you know, like golfing, like fishing, like something that your identity is not solely on the game of sport, because when it's over, then, you know, now it's who are you? Like you're 31, who are you? What do you like? Yeah. And at a point I didn't know, I'm learning now, but at a point I didn't know, so that's what I would tell them.
Definitely. Yeah. We got 45 seconds. We'll run it down.
I would say as much self-growth as you have, balance it with self-grace.
Okay, definitely.
Yeah, I'll keep it short and simple. Like literally the motto I live by is try your best and never give up. And it sounds kind of corny, and I actually got it from an anime. It's like Naruto. It's like never give up. But I think it's so true because, you know, success is never linear, no matter what you're doing. There's always going to be ups and downs. There's always going to be adversity. And as long as you never give up, you're going to reach that pinnacle eventually. So, yeah, I would encourage my 12-year-old self to just enjoy himself and to never give up.
Definitely. Well, this has been amazing, guys. Thank you so much, and thank you all for having us.
Thank you.